Are you learning a lot about glue?
Yep, we're live.
Yes. I was like, no, I'm not ready. They were like, you trying to convert me. I was like, because I didn't. And
Remember what?
so many people look at me. Oh, I got dance. I'm gonna just be like,
Don't keep it closed.
no, they got better production. Which one will fight us? I don't know. Honeys? All spades.
Pick it up. Good yet. Look at this.
She's reading the whole sentence. I think you did. He said, "What you gonna do about it, Brianna?" Yeah, we know. You ain't about it. Oh,
Which part is hurting?
you want
Which
that
part is hurting?
I'll be okay.
Sure, it could be good. Because fuck, nigga. Fuck, bitch. Just fuck.
The store near me is
That's wrong. Here. Open up. Break. Yeah, that's yeah. Yep.
All right, everyone, you need your binders out in front of you. Comments on your binder. Muhammad, thank you for having your binder out. Moses, your hood, please. Bassam, your hood, please. Go your locker, you All right, everyone, please be seated. Binders out on your desk. Needs to start a new page of notes. Binder. 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 Piece of paper.
I call it next.
I'm looking for everyone to do the right thing. I see Khaled has his notebook out, so does Dadiani. Khaled, open up your notes. Muhammad has his. Ziad has his. Headphones out, please. Darius, sit down. You need your binder out. You'll be there. Don't worry. You'll get there.
Oops, salty here. Wanna see it? Yup, 45. Try 1020 up here. Go.
All right. I'm waiting for everyone to be there. All you have to do. Actually, I'm not going to speak while everyone is still struggling to get here. So I will wait. Okay, please. Need that binder out. Okay, can you have it on your desk, please? Thank you, sir. Thomas, you'll see if you were listening. All right, everyone, all you have to do is read the statements that are right behind me and offer true or false. Just write down true or false. It's up.
So, it's taking like long.
You're still working? Okay. Take about another 30 seconds.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone, pens, pencils down. Please track me up here. Tomorrow you'll get your copy. It started in the very start. I love this book, and I love sharing all of this with you. But today, first what we need to do is we're going to take notes. Excuse me. We're going to take notes on Mary Shelley, who she was, and how her life experiences really shaped her worldview and influenced her writing. So today you'll be taking notes. Make sure you have your binders out in front of you. You have this page of notes with today's date and just the title that says Mary Shelley on the top so that you can recognize it and just to go back to your notes. We're going to go over Mary Shelley's life, a little influenced the creation of the monster in Frankenstein. But first and foremost, let's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In a way, that was true.
Yeah, that's true.
Bro.
Yes, true.
In a way, it's true because Mary Shelley, her husband, and her friend were visiting their other friend, Lord Byron, and they were all passing the time, and they were talking about who can write a better ghost story or the best ghost horror story. Not yet. No. You need to take his notes. Books before. I say books in literature before. I'm saying science fiction.
What does science fiction?
Well, that's the idea that's up for debate. And what is the strict definition of the science fiction genre? Because while this is not strictly science fiction, meaning it didn't take place in outer space or anything like that, it does have sci-fi. It does kind of use the idea of science, and it has like a perversion of science in a way to kind of animate a zombie-like creature. Some of those scientific ideas could be considered science fiction. It just depends on the definition of science fiction that you're using. But this definitely does have sci-fi elements, and those can't be denied. You don't know? We'll do some more research, okay? All right, raise your hand if both the doctor and the creature are named Frank. Do you believe that to be true? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
7. That is incorrect.
Nope.
Victor Frankenstein. You know what the name of the is?
Can you speak louder?
Where's the white cloth?
Oh, I'm
Who do
sorry.
you like?
Oh, not you. Don't speak louder. Has to be loud.
We'll get into the monster's way. Oops.
Oops, damn it.
Dang it. Igor is not
What the
Dr. Frankenstein's version. Igor is a Hollywood creation. Anyone, can you visualize Igor and what he looks like? Hunchback.
Well, he should be.
He should be? Why? Just because Hollywood did it, so it should be in the original text?
Yes, exactly.
Better.
Fail.
All right, raise your hand if you believe that the monster is afraid of fire.
Oh, no.
He saw the answer. Oh, he saw the answer. The monster is not afraid of fire. He does get burned by fire once, but he's not afraid of it. More professional academic way.
But why?
You use it all the time. Not the word, but like elevated language. Absolutely. So you communicate. So become better communicators. So moving on, human bodies. He obviously takes a bunch of human cadavers, stitches them all together, and they are reanimated. So please, does anyone believe that Frankenstein has those bolts coming out? No? Okay, don't believe that, that's not true. I believe in them.
They look cool though.
Raise your hand if you believe that the novel Frankenstein includes a journey to the North Pole.
Yeah, that's false.
That's kind of random, right? That's weird. But it's true.
What?
The novel setting is actually.
What's that? He goes to see Jack Frost?
We're gonna get into it.
He goes to see Jack Frost?
Does not Jack Frost.
Purple? No, go see Jack Frost.
Did you stop with the Jack Frost?
Jack
Now,
Frost.
we'll get into what a frame tale is later, but the first narrator, there are multiple narrators to this book. The first one is a man named Robert, who eventually comes across Victor Frankenstein, and then Victor Frankenstein tells Robert the tale of how he created the monster. And then Victor Frankenstein takes over as the narrator. So there's different narrators that go as you go down the line, and that makes it into a frame tale. We'll go over that a little bit more later on. You start. I don't either, but there's a way that you can argument it absolutely is false. There is no Bride of Frankenstein. That is, I already spoiled it. Okay, so explain to me what you think is in the book. Go. Frankenstein. Some guy.
Some guy wants to.
Okay, you're there. You go.
Let me guess. Some guy wants to fulfill a bunch of parts.
Nope.
Then brings up the body
Nope.
parts.
All wrong. Now, take notes to understand the personal factors that contribute to Frankenstein. Then we're going to analyze the Greek creation myth, because that influenced Mary Shelley to write the origin story, the creation story for the monster. Everyone, take notes. Not it will take you too long, but write down the important personal factors. Highlighted. It was not in school. All right. So, Mary Shelley was the daughter to two very influential people of the time. The first one is Mary Wollstonecraft, who was a philosopher and a feminist rights of woman. I think I had to read that in college, and it was very good. And long story short, she was a very powerful and one of the initial feminist figures of the time period. Her father, William Godwin, was a political philosopher. Her mother died when she was only 11 days old. Actually, unfortunately, passed away because as was being born and coming out of her mother's womb, the surgeon who was in charge of delivering Mary didn't properly sanitize his hands. Her mother developed an infection, and that's what caused her to pass away 11 days later. She fell in love with her father's political follower named Percy Bysshe Shelley. Who is this? This gentleman right here. No way. No. The one who's sitting here. Oh. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yeah, it's Miss KB. Miss KB. She spelled my name. She spelled my name Santino. I laugh.
I love the Santino version. Latino. Santino. Santino.
Start taking notes. I gotta go get it. She fell in love with her father's political follower, Percy Bysshe Shelley. We all know him as the author of Ozymandias. She was 16 years old. He was 20. And at this time, he was also already married and had a pregnant wife. So once again, he was already married at that time and had a pregnant wife. And at that time period, this was seen as very culturally an indiscretion. This could not happen. So her reputation was ruined because, as a young woman, she eventually went with a married man. He cheated on his pregnant wife.
This sounds so familiar.
No,
This sounds
Moses?
familiar.
Okay, so back then, like an age gap.
don't think it was seen as like an unbelievable, like, oh my god. Jesus. It was definitely certainly different back then. But what did matter was that she was with a married man.
Fuck yeah.
She could not do that. Because of this, she was ostracized from her family, and her husband, Shelley, or not husband yet because he was married, but like her lover, Percy Shelley, over the next 2 years. Eventually, Mary became pregnant, but she lost her child because it was born prematurely. On a vacation at Lake Geneva, she went to kind of help herself get over her depression because she lost her child. This certainly helped lift her spirits.
Oh my God.
His wife, who was pregnant, was so distraught over the fact that he left her to be with Mary Shelley that first wife committed suicide.
Talk to the kids.
Mary, at this point, I believe he eventually gained custody of the children, but they were taken away from him, and because he was deep.
Yeah, dude.
But Mary now married Percy Shelley and became Mary Shelley. And eventually she got pregnant and they had 2 children. Percy, at this time, was deemed unfit to take care of his other children and they were placed into someone else's family. So take note. At this time, Mary Shelley had 3 pregnancies and lost all 3 children. Obviously, these are factors that we need to have written down and remember because they obviously contributed to her worldview. Think about this as we continue with the lesson. She has lost 3 children and she wrote a book, pregnant again, and miscarried. This time almost dying because she lost so much blood. So in total, Mary Shelley 5. Percy Shelley, her husband, continued to cheat. He actually cheated on her, I believe, with her stepsister at one point, and got her pregnant, I believe. But Percy Shelley continued to write, wasn't warm and loving towards him. Not really taking into account the idea that 3 of her children died and she suffered a miscarriage, which obviously contributed to her deep, deep depression. When they had moved to Italy, this was a time when they could kind of live the romantic, radical lives that they envisioned for themselves. And at one point, she really accepted the idea that he was interested in another woman and enjoyed, in a way, her own right to free love and a non-exclusive marriage, meaning she kind of liked the idea of the open marriage that was imposed on them due to his adultery. 1922, Shelley lenses. Looking at it through a personal lens, through the context of life, it can be read as a tale of what happens when a man tries to get a child. Y'all are ridiculous. All right. And then he decided to stop doing work. But you would always give me the excuses like, Antonio, I'm going to do it. Some of the most prominent thematic topics that we're going to discuss when we read Frankenstein. So, when we do thematic analysis, when we do close reads, you can refer back to your notes to look at the thematic topics that I am prioritizing for this class. So please take down these notes. In terms of the most prominent themes, there is the idea of light and darkness coinciding with knowledge and ignorance. In the book, whenever there are characters who are trying to seek knowledge, coincides with knowledge. When it comes to ending of the book, there is an example of one of the main characters, Robert Walton, going to the North Pole because he's so in scientific expedition and obtaining all of this knowledge. He even calls the North Pole a country of eternal life. Here we see that the eternal life symbolizes the potential unlimited knowledge that he could obtain by studying the North Pole and all of the factors of that. What's up? Victor is also inspired by the destructive power of a lightning bolt, lightning light, and begins researching galvanism. Anyone know what galvanism is? No. Please write down that word in your notes. Just write that there, galvanism. In this context, what it refers to is the idea that you can bring life back or reanimate life through lightning, through electricity. Not lightning, electricity, more specifically. That idea actually still kind of pervades today in some ways, like a defibrillator, bringing someone back with electricity, right? Can you say this? Why can't I say this? Defibrillator. I did defibrillator. It's a hard one. English was not my first language.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Hola. Buenos días.
Come on, Wes. Come on, Wes.
All right. Anyone need more time on this slide?
Let's go.
Moving on.
Party.
Other thematic topics. What makes a monster? This is a very important theme that we will be discussing in class. Who is responsible for the creature? This is the person who created the person who influenced the creator of the creature. What makes someone a monster? And who is responsible for the creature's actions? These are this is just the cool little image that I got.
Hey, let's go.
You're not.
For jump around.
And the elements of nature. How does nature play a role in the development of these ideas? Remember, that is one of the Roman elements that we discussed last week. The celebration of that play a role. Raise your hand if you need more time. Okay.
It's cool. It's cool. It's truck. It's cool. Team.
Everyone at this time, mysterious characters, supernatural events, and always the atmosphere of impending danger. These are things that I wanted to include. You don't necessarily need to have them down, and do not write down Byronic hero. I'm good at writing. Okay. Do it. Okay.
Right.
All right. Everyone, please. I printed out for us in the class, but the printers weren't working this morning because someone broke them. Well, I didn't break them. Thank you, Assam, Jawad, Eliza, Thomas, Viola, Carmelo.
There's.
You can follow along with us up here. So, what we're going to do is read about the Greek creation myth because this influenced Mary Shelley to write Frankenstein, specifically to help write the creature's origin story. So what we're going to do is just read these 2 pages, this page, and then of this text. Any concerns right now before we begin? As we read, you're gonna fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we read, what I would like you to for character. That is Prometheus. Raise your hand if you've heard of Prometheus. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
I've heard it.
He's not the god. That's Kratos. No. Importance of Prometheus. Correct. Importance of Prometheus. All right. I am going to begin reading. Everyone, please follow along. I'm also going to annotate a few passages. But as we read, please follow along and make sure. So everyone, please track your screens. Better pay attention. In the beginning, there was an empty garden. The only thing in this void was a bird with black wings. With the wind, she laid a golden egg, and for ages she sat upon this egg. Finally, life stirred in the egg, and out of it rose Eros, the god of love. One half of the shell rose into the air and became the sky, and the other became earth. Eros named the sky Uranus, and the earth he named Gaia. Then Eros made them grandchildren. Some of their children became afraid of the power of their children, so Cronus, in an effort to protect himself, swallowed his children when they were still infants. Does this ring a bell to anyone?
Yeah.
Didn't we, Sean? Greek mythology, didn't we see a picture of this on Friday?
Oh, yeah.
Saturn devouring his son. This is also known as Saturn, Cronus. This was from the image that we saw. You can't see his son. Once the child Zeus established, the children fought a mighty war against their father. After much fighting, the younger generation won. With Zeus as their leader, began to furnish Gaia with life and Uranus with the stars. Remember, Gaia representing the earth, Uranus representing the sky, now emblazoned with stars. Soon the earth lacked only two things, man and animals. And this is where the instance of Prometheus comes in. Zeus summoned his sons Prometheus and Epimetheus. He told them to go to earth and create men and animals, and gave each of them a gift. Prometheus set to work forming men in the image of the gods. So, what was Prometheus' task, God?
To give a gift to the
Yeah.
men.
Yeah.
What was his task? Make men. To make men in the image of the gods. And Epimetheus worked on creating the animal. As Epimetheus worked, he gave each animal he created one of the gifts. After Epimetheus had completed his work, Prometheus finally finished making men. However, when he went to see what gift to give man, he realized Epimetheus shamefacedly informed him he used up all the gifts. Distressed, decided to give man five ones to have access to.
Where the fuck fire?
As the sun rode out into the world the next morning, Prometheus took some of the fire and brought it back to man. He taught his creation how to take care of it, and then he left them. Prometheus gave man fire. What is important about fire? Viola? Okay, only gods were allowed to have fire. And when it comes to humanity, what was the purpose of fire in our evolution? What did it do for us? Elaborate. Sorry? Damaged us? How so? What did it I see other hands. 1, 2. Other hands. I'm gonna come back to you? Yeah. Okay. Yusuf.
Lighting a cigarette.
Okay. That's a little bit too specific. And let's talk about just what it did to the evolution of humanity in general. Sean? Gave us life, in a way. Think about fire. What did we just say? Something that gives us life could potentially symbolize? No.
Tough.
What did we just notes? Light could potentially as what? Look at your notes. Look at your notes. Look at your notes.
No.
Juwan, don't look at me. Look at your notes.
Darkness?
Fire, darkness? Light. Look back at your notes. Whenever there is a presence of light, there's something that has light in it. What could it potentially also symbolize or contribute to the meaning of what? Nope.
No.
For us.
I'm not gonna have anyone go call out. All you need to do is look at your notes. That's it. Huh. Knowledge. Yusuf, hands, and something that hesitates to call on you because you raise your hand to say something that is totally irrelevant or you know is going to just elicit laughs. So, next time, if you want to be taken seriously, be serious. You understand? Jawad, keep your opinions to yourself. I wasn't talking to you. Stop. All right. He decided to give man fire, perhaps symbolic of knowledge. What can fire also symbolize? Yeah?
Violence.
Sorry?
Violence.
Maybe violence in a way?
Warmth.
Sorry?
Warmth.
Warmth or a comfort in some way? Moses? Sorry? Hope? Okay, perhaps hope in a way. What you need to understand is he gave humanity fire, and this is something that was forbidden by the gods. So he broke a rule here. Final page. When Zeus discovered Prometheus's deed, he became furious. he ordered his son to be chained to a mountain and for a vulture to peck out at his liver for all of eternity, which will be your punishment if you don't do your homework. Then he began to devise a punishment for mankind. Another of his sons created a woman of great beauty, Pandora. Each of the gods gave her a gift. Zeus's present was curiosity in a box, which he ordered her never to open.
Open it. I'm curious.
Then he presented her to Epimetheus as a wife. So, Thomas, say what you were saying. What's a double-edged sword? Very good. So, you're setting someone up to fail if you give them the idea of curiosity. I'm going to give you curiosity, Colette, and then I'm going to give you a box and tell you not to open it. What are you going to immediately want to do? Open the box.
You're gonna open it.
Open the box. Pandora's life with Epimetheus was happy, except for her intense longing to open the box. You shall follow along, please. She was also convinced that because the gods and goddesses had showered her with so many glorious gifts, that this one would also be wonderful. So one day, when Epimetheus was gone, she opened the box. Out of the box flew all of the horrors which plague the world today: pain, sickness, envy, greed. And upon hearing Pandora's screams, Epimetheus rushed home, closed the lid, but all of the evils had already escaped. Later that night, they heard a voice coming from the box saying, "Let me out, I am hope." Pandora and Epimetheus released her, and she flew out into the world to give hope to humankind. And that is the Greek creation. Everyone, with the remaining time that you have, please reread this if you have to, and answer the questions that are all the way at the bottom. These are easy questions. Some of them are just simply plot and recall questions, and some of them you have to provide cited textual evidence. So if you have a question or a concern, please raise your hand silently, and I will come to you.
That's the last time I can. It's the last time. 353.
Oh, all right, the water's already started to read right. Iad is there. Viola's filling it out. Right. The first question is, who rose out of the egg, and what did he do? This is all in the first paragraph. Remember, questions or concerns, raise a silent hand.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I don't know gonna spend time on. Can't do that. Like, it's kind of easy, you know. Fucking low.
Oh, it's only 13 minutes? It's the first day of 43. But it's still 43. Oh, that's this is a question.
Okay, I gotta talk this. Yeah.
That is homework if you don't continue. Your actual homework is also posted in today's folder in school key as a common load assignment titled The Story of Prometheus and Pandora's Box. There you go.
You're really tall man.
You're a taller man than I am.
How tall are you? Either 6'2" or 6'1".
I'm 6 feet. 5'11".
You're really tall. You're a really tall man.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I'm 6'8". I'm 5'8". I'm 6'. You're 5'8". I'm
Everyone,
6'4".
your homework is on Common Lips, the story of Prometheus, and you complete that. The class needs to be submitted if you did not complete it.
I'm 5'8".
Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Take care. You're dismissed. No? Stay back. Stay back to the board. Common Lips, very good. Know the homework? No.
Guys, yo, bitch, I'm leaving.
All right, stay back. And?
We're gonna.